By the way,
And of
another
course,
team. Yeah, go on. Another
yeah,
team
of
that
course,
actually didn't get out of the groups that I want to talk about is Team Liquid. Because here's the thing. Again, how are people just going to make it like this team was going to go 0-6? Like, if you looked at that group and thought they were going to go 0-6, you just don't understand like player strength. Like, it's a best of one against regions you haven't played. Like, you can trip over. Like, you think someone like Jensen can't have a pop-off game? I mean, you saw it in the fucking tournament. Can Alphari not win a lane? Of course he can. Can fucking CoreJJ not make some like clutch move? Of course he can. Like, listen, TL has all sorts of problems, but if anything, it actually shows that beyond the super mega elite teams, the parity between the like lesser Asian teams and the Western teams that are the best, it's pretty good actually, because I still think Team Liquid, even at the end of this group and the tiebreakers, still looked like a team that had like disconnected elements, didn't always act in unison. But just look at the strength of the players though. If you give certain players certain picks, you know they can perform, you know they can carry the game, they're still good enough. Like, think about this. Team Liquid not only beat every team in their group, they had a whole bunch of games they lost that they were in decent position, or like at the mid game it's even. Like, if this team actually had any cohesion, holy fuck, they could have done something big at this tournament. They could have been a legit, like, not a contender, but a dark horse potentially. I even still look at it. I know people are going to go, you're harping on this, right? Again, two of my favourite positions in League of Legends are top lane and ADC. And if there's one thing I fucking hate, it's top laners who can't lane. That's your entire motherfucking job for 75% of this game. And it's ADCs who don't walk the line. And what I mean by that is you must step forwards to almost within range of the opponent. You can put the fucking circle on the indicator if you need to. Step forwards within range, do your damage. Then you try and do the careful dance of stepping back so you don't get hit. Right, here's what Tactical does on Team Liquid. He goes all in and dies and gets blown up instantly, or he goes on the back like old school Reckless and just watches people die 2 meters in front of him, and he never goes within distance to shoot them. Go look at that last fight when they were around the inhibitor, right? It was fucking a joke, mate. Like, what was he doing in this fight? Like, he's just watching people dying. It's mental. So I have to say, all the players in Team Liquid at certain times have their moments. You can criticize them, or you can say, like Jensen Alphari, maybe they didn't step up or they didn't get the CS sometimes. But the problem I have with Tactical is it's like, mate, this isn't like it's his first split. It's not even his first year. Like, this guy's had his time. He's not a true rookie anymore. He's been to all these bloody worlds. Like, he just doesn't get the position ADC. Like, he has skill, clearly, but it reminds me of when Cody Sun was on 100 Thieves and he was just shitting the bed half the time. It's like, dude, your role is ADC. You have to do consistent DPS. Those two words, they get consistent, and you must do the DPS. You can't do DPS sometimes, and sometimes carry one fight and then die. And it can't be inconsistent. By definition, your role is about consistency. And this guy doesn't have it. Like, Elsa, am I going too far? Do you think he's good?
No, I mean, I don't, like, firstly, I don't think Tactical played well, but I don't think he was, like, the main reason why they lost, right? I think, like, I mean, I remember mentioning it on, like, the Crackdown where, but like depending on draft, I think TL has a decent chance, and they did for sure. I think they should have won the game against Genji.
Yes,
but the thing is, like, Alphari had such a huge lead, and instead of trying to constantly help Alphari, what happened was Alphari was like grouping with his teammates, trying to force things when there's nothing going on, instead of extending his own lead. Like, there's no way with such a huge lead he had that he couldn't take the tier 2 towers from top lane, Because I think he was so far ahead that Tactical could AFK for 5 minutes, just send 4 people top side and take the top tier 2, and Tactical loses bottom tier 1, and you still win out. And I think it was mainly like a macro issue where they didn't play towards the side lane objectives, because I think Summer Split they changed where the towers are worth like a lot more gold.
Yes,
and that's what they should have played towards, right? And yes. I think Thorin as well. I think early games he was looking very clueless, and it didn't help for sure. But definitely they could have won. They should have won the tiebreak game against Genji.
Yeah, I thought so as well. I mean, I will say as well, I actually want to get your take on this, Monty, because I get torn on it. Because on the one hand, I do think sometimes Alphari I think sometimes he goes a little bit too ham, but I also think on the team he's on, it's like, dude, read the room. These guys aren't going to follow you up, mate. Like, the second you go in, if they see the fight, so they just back off. My joke is that, when I always used to complain at LCK, they try to be as efficient as possible and do a triage in the middle of a team fight and be like, actually back off. Even though one of us, like the support will die as we back off, it's not worth taking this 5v5, but it's not like a big edge to us. It's like TL does that, but every team fight. It's mental. They don't commit.
I think that Alphari's leads were kind of wasted on Team Liquid. I think that there were opportunities to really push Alphari forward and like allow him to dictate when these fights occurred, and yet it felt like that wasn't the game plan that Team Liquid was after a lot of the time. So I think overall it just seemed like a disconnect to me. Overall, when it came to Alphari and his teammates and what the strategy of the game was, because he was actually getting really significant early leads. I mean, for a team that lost at the end due to the tiebreaker, lost more games than they won, he was consistently ahead in the laning phase. He was second in terms of gold differential at 10 in those laning phases. He was getting solid advantages. He was putting out a lot of the damage for his team. And other teams at this tournament have been able to convert those top lane advantages into wins. And Liquid didn't do that.
I think for sure, I think their meta read, or at least what they drafted on stage, was very, extremely inconsistent, Like they kind of knew they had to play towards Alphari, but one game they drafted Jarvan into Cannon. Yeah, it's a good matchup, but in the end, he's waiting for a tactical to carry, and probably not going to happen. And then the other game, the Jace game, he got ahead, and then he tried to help his teammates where his teammates were supposed to sacrifice for him. I think
Here's the thing.
It kind of went wrong.
I have a different philosophy, and it's a little bit fucked up, Nelson. Some of it comes from personal baggage. Some of it comes from the type of players I enjoy watching. I like players that know when to be selfish. I like players, I'll give you the basketball analogy. I like players like Kobe Bryant, where what they do, Nelson, is at the end of the game, in a normal game of basketball, you're supposed to follow certain principles. You're supposed to pass the ball. You're supposed to hit the open man. You're supposed to, use the fact that you're the star to draw a defender to you and open your teammate up. That all makes sense during a normal game, right? But if I have to win the game, I like the guy who goes, get the fuck out of my way to his teammate, and he just takes the shot because he knows he's the best player. In this team, I hate what you've just described there, where it's you're right. If this was you were using robots and we were in LS's world, the way they played that comp's correct. You actually should just tactical carry the team fights. It's just have you got no fucking memory? You're goldfish. He doesn't carry these team fights. What are you talking? He had one game I can remember where he carried. The Tristana game was pretty good. I'll give him that one. Aside from that, why would you put all your eggs in the third best laning basket that you've got? You want to put them in the best one. They need to take some lessons from fucking RNG. I love RNG because Xiaohu just goes, look, if we win, it's all because of me. And if we lose, well, it's all because of me as well, but you guys couldn't have won the fucking game. I love that. That's exactly what I want. Basically, here's the problem. Alphari wasn't toxic enough. If Jack couldn't take it, let's see who can get fired next year. You need to become more toxic. I'm going to go back in time, and we're going to go back, and it's going to be fucking in Game of Thrones when they went back in time with the fucking three-eyed crow, and he was visiting all past memories and things in his genetic line. We're going to go back like that, and I'm going to take him to key points in history. I'm going to go, this is a man called Nuke Doc. Oh, I know it's his first split, but he's arrogant enough to believe he will kill Faker. Let's watch it play. And then he does it. I'm going to go back through all time, just show him all the most fucking toxic players. This is forgiven. Ethan, yeah.
This is definitely writes the League of Legends World Championship. You're taking him to the ghosts of worlds past and looking at all the history so that he can become a good player. Except instead of he's like Scrooge, except reverse Scrooge, where he's becoming more of an asshole instead of less of an asshole.
That's the problem, dude. For real, if you ever talk to these players, I know he does a good job memeing that he's cocky on Twitter. Alphari is cocky in the sense that he knows he'll get his CS and he'll do well in his matchup. He isn't the guy, by the way, who's going to go to his teammates and go, you guys are fucking up. Just Basically, do what I say and we're going to win the game. He doesn't do that. It's actually very rare. The players who do that, by the way, you either have to win all the time, in which case you can do it if you like perks or someone. Other than that, people think that they're the asshole if they do that. It's not. I always tell players, this is what I've told every great player I've ever been friends with. I tell them, in that scenario, you're actually being selfish if you don't demand the ball. Because if you're the best player and you have the best matchup and you have the lead, you're the only fucking one who can get the high yield chance of winning the game. So it's actually your responsibility to carry the game. Now, true, in other games, there'll be times when it isn't. But in that scenario, by then getting like a guy who sucks and going, you can have a go now at winning, like that's actually being selfish. You're acting like everyone's equal. We are very much not equal. You know, I know you fucking kids do that mean, but like he is built different. Like a guy like that, I want him to have a cocky attitude.
Just to put it in perspective,
2 more games.
If this is how stupid esports is, guys. If Kobe had been an esports player, he would have been ejected from his team and banned by Riot for toxicity.
Yeah. Exactly, he'd be done.
Maybe Alphari just knew that, like after the Mad Lions game, he still had 2 more games. So if he was too toxic, maybe it could be Jenkins. He didn't want to ruin his roles.
The irony is, he did play the team fights like he was fucking Leroy Jenkins. He just ran in first, and then they all just watched him, and they were. It's like they were watching, thinking it was like a spectator, like they were in the fucking client, like when you could watch Dota 2 like that with VR or whatever. Like, oh, that's bad. Oh, it's nasty. You got CC there. He's probably gonna get fucked up. Oh, glad I'm not playing on his team. Oh, shut up. Oh god. Oh. Give me a break. What were these games? And like I say, think about how absolute fiestas most of the TL games were in the mid game. Dude, they almost won this group. There was a world where they could have won this group. That's what I mean. People have got to stop acting like we have these static metrics and like teams are up here and teams are down here. There are very, very few teams in this world's group who were legitimately bad. And there were very few teams who were really good.
And also, you could also make an argument that they could have made quarterfinals if they hadn't matched up against Gen G first.
Remember, the seeding for that was done on fucking average game length, which we've done it already to death in the past. Probably the stupidest tiebreak system possible.
That's the problem, is that it's the only tiebreak system possible when you have best of ones, because there aren't any other metrics in League like round differential in CSGO to go off of. So it is incredibly stupid. But my argument would be you shouldn't even have best of ones in a system where you don't have a reliable secondary tiebreaker, because it results in these scenarios.
Yeah, for sure. I think like best of ones, if only you change the format like where the last team gets only the last place teams get eliminated. Otherwise, I think it's not a very good format for the teams there.
I think it's obvious what you do. You take what Nelson just said and you combine it with Monte said about double a limb. You make it so that the top 3 teams go out, but the third team goes to the lower bracket immediately and the others go in the upper. It's fucking obvious, isn't it? Have you ever seen esports people? It's
almost like that's what they did in the LCS playoffs when they put 8 out of the 10 teams into the playoff bracket. So we know they know these things. We have evidence that they have knowledge of how to do this, but they just refuse to do it for the most important tournaments. Like, why do I have to watch? I would rather not watch that in LCS, frankly. Like, I would rather just have a very simple, frankly, not even 8 team. I'd rather just have a 4 team semifinals into finals at LCS, so I don't have to watch as many bad games. Whereas if you shortened the playoff window for the regions, then we could have a longer Worlds with a good format.
Also, I'll just put this out there. I hate things that are logically inconsistent. So the reason why in groups we can't have 2 teams from the same region is because they play all year long. Why would I want to watch them play? Now watch them play each other in the best of 5 in the... Give me a fucking break. So I wouldn't watch them. I wouldn't want to see them play like 2 games against each other, be a ones, but I want to watch them play 5 games and then 1 go home. How many times do I have to see this? How many times do I have to pray to the fucking ancient ones? I'm praying to fucking Cthulhu and all those fuckers that somehow I can get LPL versus LCK in the fucking playoffs. Fat chance of that happening. Every bloody year, it's like they stack the opposite sides of the bracket. It's mental, isn't it? How many times has happened? It's so nuts. I feel like it's happened half the worlds, maybe more, maybe 2/3 of the worlds.
PX won a world championship without ever playing a Korean team.
Mental, wasn't it? I know. There's the run back people don't realise. Here's the real thing that'll break your hearts if you ever stop and sit down and look at the meta and think about it. G2 did FPX the biggest favour of all fucking time. They just beat out the Korean teams. I mean, technically they play, like, obviously IG beat Griffin for them. Like, give me a break, mate. Like, well, the problem is this. Everyone's going to go, FPX were the greatest teams ever. In terms of, like, the accomplishment, yeah. But in terms of actual, like, eye test, fuck no. Fuck no. They just went, they got a big jackpot machine when the fucking meta came around. Ding, ding, the 7. Oh my God! Oh! And then they're like, you're very skillful with the jackpot machine. The way that you adapted to the jackpot was incredible. Like, why is everything fake in League of Legends? Why is everything fake?
I mean, I think maybe for FPX, I think for sure, right? You could say that maybe they wouldn't contest for like the best team of all time. But I think IG for sure can, at least, when they won Worlds. I think there was close to like one of the best lineups anyone could ever see. I think if you forget, I think other than one player, I think everyone else,
of course,
was like world class, close to world class.
What's mad is even with fucking Bowland just averaging it out with 4 people to average his shit out, they might still be the most skilled team to ever play League of Legends. It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Legit.
You know what's even crazier is like when we did that episode of Summoning Insight where we talked about the best players of all time in each position, and KT had 4 of those players and still lost to IG. So that tells you a lot about IG.
For sure. In fact, that's the part people don't realise. That's why everyone goes back to that match and they're like, what if? Because it's just the obvious one. It's like, fuck, either of these teams could have won.
Wait, who was KD's mid laner?
Mid laner. Theirs was Pawn. Yeah. But it was UCAL at that tournament.
Okay, yeah.
That was the one player that wasn't that many. It was everyone else, obviously, that we were talking about. Deft, Matter, fucking Smeb, Score. Like, those are like the fucking goats of the position, aren't they? But obviously, we all know, years before, fucking Smeb must have got that old cursed monkey paw out. And he goes, I just want to be relevant in Worlds every year. And it goes, no problem, buddy. No! Like, yeah, exactly. You just don't want to win Worlds, you idiot. What are you doing? And also that one where, like, look, normally in esports, right, I do love players. Like, I think it's gangsters fuck that Smeb had the chance to join SKT after Rocks Tigers, and he went like, no, because what would the point be? I'm trying to beat SKT. That's an awesome story. The problem is it's not as cool if you don't do it. So it's like everyone else in history is just like, shall I join the best team? Yes, I shall win all the championships. So, like, that's the problem. It's not that cool if you don't do it, though, is it? Like, you have to actually execute after that point in time.
And he was never the same again. He
also went downhill, didn't he? I know. He went a bit downhill, unfortunately. Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.